Hey, a little something I'd like to lay on y'all.
Afternoon. Well, I finally got round to it. Sort of time I came down to the woods and tried carving a spoon for you. So I've done the cup of tea. It's ready to go. I think it's only fair. If you're going to have a cup of tea, probably ought to have a biscuit as well. So let's get started with one of those. Compulsory to dip it in the tea, 100%. It's a nice afternoon anyway. The piece of wood I've harvested for this spoon is a piece of willow. It's got a lovely bend in it, perfect crank for an eating spoon. It's just over 2 inches in diameter that way. So what we're going to aim to do is cleave it in half this way and in half this way. So we basically take this top section here for our spoon and get rid of this bit on the back. That way we should hopefully have some nice material in there. So this bend, really nice for an eating spoon. Not the best wood in the world for a spoon, but quite easy to carve. and it should produce a half decent result. You can see it's nice and straight in this plane. If it wasn't, we could correct it, but chances are as it dries it might want to bend again, so it's always nice to have it straight in that direction. But just finished my cup of tea, and then we'll get cracking on opening this up and seeing what we can find inside. Right, let's see how we get on then. So this is our billet. First of all, I want to split it across here. How I'm going to do that is to use the axe on top. This extra bit here gives me something to split down onto, which is why I haven't trimmed it back just yet. Just got another piece of the willow to strike the back of the axe with. I want to make sure I get this horizontal and this kind of, well, perpendicular to this anyway. So I'm just going to look across it there. That's that bit gone. Now I actually want to do the same down here, but we're going to come into a problem with this bend here. So what's not a bad idea is to put a couple of saw cuts in just to help with that. Just to try and weaken this a bit. Shorten this. So hopefully that'll sit on there. Come in on that saw cut. Try and split down here. That's got through that first bit. It's given us a little bit of a ledge there. So should be able to come down this way now. You can see the problem. So I'm going to hold on there. So I've got hold of the axe and the billet. And just deepen this saw cut a little bit. Go. So there we go, we've got quite an efficient billet for our spoon there. You can see there's not too much material. We've got enough for a handle and enough for a bowl. More than enough for a bowl. We're going to end up cutting this section off. So now I can think about just cleaning up these sides a little bit. Make sure I've got enough depth to work with, and then we can see we've got the growth centre here. We want to be rid of that. I'm going to leave this extra length on for now, but I want to get rid of the pith in this direction as well. Oh, just the bark. Letting go there. This tree came down in the last storm we had, so it's been sat a little while, but the wood's still nice and fresh. Kind of see the idea now. That's where we're going to cut it off, probably cut it about there, and that will be the spoon itself. So I could just start axing away at this, but what I'm going to do is, just to help me with the axe work, at the neck of the spoon I'm just going to put a couple of little stop cuts in, not too deep, so that I can axe down to these. And then take away some of this bit of the handle this way. I'm going to keep this quite simple. Now I'm going to take some off the back of the handle. Now interestingly, there's a little knot here. You can see that. That might show up when I start carving this face off. So now I want to think about what shape the bowl itself is going to be, and I can probably saw this off at this point, but what I'm going to do is actually start to shape the bowl. So I'm going to come in a bit at this angle because I've got plenty to bear down on there. I'll take this to a point first. Then I could actually just start to truncate it with the axe. Or I could saw it. I'm just going to take these shoulders down. Okay. And just in case it shows up, I'm going to try and keep this knot right in the middle. So there you go, roughly shaped. Handle's still way too long, but while it's nice and long, I'm going to take these shoulders off the back of the bowl and at the same time work down that corner of the handle. So I've just taken those two corners off and bring that shape round a little bit on the bowl itself. There we go, we've got a nice curve there. See, this is the nice curve that we wanted in the first place. What I can do now is just to chop down into that just a little bit with the axe. Not going to go too far, just to give me somewhere to start. And then I'm actually going to, I think, go straight to the knives from there. Might go back to the axe in a minute, but first up I'm going to use the smaller spoon scorp, and I'm going to get in here and just to start taking some of that waste out in the bowl. Now I've got that curve in there, I can use a bit more force So there we go, got the rough bowl hollowed, handle very roughly shaped. So I'm going to go for the straight knife now, and just to help protect my chest when I'm pushing the spoon into it here. Just got this little bit of leather on a shoelace just to hold against my chest. Call it a bodger's bib. Some people do anyway. So now I'm just going to start working this handle, thinning it down a little bit. What I think I'm going to try and do is leave some of this colour from the cambium layer of the wood just showing on the end of the spoon and see what happens. I might end up taking it off at a later stage, but for now I think it might actually look quite good, so we'll see. But I want to taper this so it comes in thinner at the neck. Still going to leave a little bit of extra length on for now and decide later on exactly how long I want this to be. So I'll come down, leaving these shavings attached, and then work it back to just pick them off. Using the tip of the blade so I can get a good turn in there. And I can also start to just clean up where the axe has been on the back of the bowl. There's not actually much wood to remove here. I'm going to bring that up the handle. I think the handle will probably end up about this long, so I'm going to leave a couple of inches of that colour and then come in so now I'm going to take some off the back of the handle using this chest lever cut. A very slight backwards curve here. That's quite nice. So we're working with a crook, so actually the grain runs down the handle and round this bend, so I haven't got to be too fussy about where I start this cut. Now I'm just going to start to shape the outside of the bowl so I've got some depth to the rim. I'm using a peeling cut here, so almost like you're peeling a potato, using my thumb as the fulcrum. Or I could do this, it's kind of a thumb lever. And this is where I think I'm going to truncate the bowl, decide exactly how long I want it to be, and I'd have said there is sensible. Probably going to be quicker to use a saw, cutting across the grain. And now I can really start to bring that shape in the way I want it. I think I'll also truncate the handle at this stage. There we go, we've got this sort of size that we want now. I'm going to take some more material out of the bowl itself. Still got a lot of depth to the rim here. More on one side, more on this side than this. So I'm just going to bring this down. I think we're kind of nearly there really. This will need to dry a little bit before I can finish it. Probably just frame this little bit of colour just by beveling this top edge. Just slim that down a bit more. I must leave enough wood when I want to finish this off. No good taking it all away now. Well, here we go. Here's the nearly finished article. Apologise for the change in camera angle. While I thought the main camera was actually recording, it had managed to switch itself off, which is really useful. So here is the finished or nearly finished article, just so that you can see it. I had been showing it to the other camera, not knowing that it had stopped working, so sorry about that. But I'll just take a few more cuts just so you can see what I've been up to. Taking a few cuts just to refine this shape, clean up any rough sections. You see, I'll leave the shavings on coming down the handle and come in with the tip of the blade and the shoulders of the bowl just to release those shavings. Hopefully get a nice clean transition in there. At this stage, I'm just going to thin this down a little bit so that I can leave it to dry, and then I'll come back and do all the finishing cuts once the wood's dried out a little bit, because it will take a nicer finish. So I'm going to leave this here as a sharp edge. I will bevel this back eventually, but I only really want to do that once, and to keep it nice and clean, it'll be better to do that when the wood's dry. Same with taking the edges off the bowl and reducing the thickness of the bowl. For now I've left it a fairly even thickness so it can all dry out nicely. I'll just take a few cuts inside the bowl just to start cleaning up some of the rougher cuts I've made. I'm working across the grain. And I'm going to try and use the shallowest section of the blade that I can. For this top section, when you've got a nice crank, I come round from the top here. Works quite well. I have to hold it slightly differently to do this bit, but I come in the same way. And then just come across here, just to clean up. There we go. So I've got 3 main facets on the back, which for now feels a bit kind of chunky and uncomfortable. But once it's dry, I can take this rim down a little bit more. I can take the back of the bowl down a little bit more and turn these 3 facets into 5. So in other words, just taking off this hard edge here. And that will give me a nice shape. Good and durable, because it will be all nice clean knife cuts. There we go. I'm going to leave this colour on and see how it dries. It might be quite nice, I think, to leave a little bit of that for detail. You can see the concentric rings, the growth rings, as we've worked in from the bark side of the log being here. You get these concentric circles in the growth rings of the timber. Hopefully you can also see that the grain runs around the bowl and up the handle quite nicely, which is what makes it good and strong. This is really, it's not a particularly strong timber, but it's a really strong joint here because of this grain running all the way through. You can possibly also see there's some little compression kind of ripples across here. That's where there's been tension, or actually compression. If this branch was growing this way on the tree, so there's been pressure here from that limb, and it compresses some of the cells in the wood and leaves that kind of stripy look. So there we go. Well, thanks for joining me. There's a few of you kind of put me up to this on Instagram, so I appreciate it actually. It's been a while since I've come and carved in the woods. So it's a good excuse to come down. Hopefully I've done okay with the cameras apart from this minor faux pas. But as you can see, I haven't really used many tools. Just used the saw. This is a folding silky saw to harvest the wood. My trusty carving axe. And then so far, just the smaller version of the spoon scorp, the standard one. And my carving knife by Chris Grant. First time I've actually carved from a crooked billet on camera, so hopefully that's shown you a slightly different process to what you're used to seeing, and we can kind of see there where our spoon has come from. So the back of this billet is no good because it's got all sorts of junctions in it with pith running through it. You can see that curve from that branch has given us a really nice curve for an eating spoon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.